Hey everyone, what's happening? Danny K here with Sonic Flair. Hope everyone's doing well. Thanks for tuning in. I always appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to watch me ramble on about hi-fi, high-end audio, and all the rest of the good stuff. Funny enough, I posted a picture on Instagram earlier today talking about the setup here, and I posited the question, what do you think this video is going to be about, right? And it's the good news is nobody guessed it. Everybody thought it was going to be something about records, obviously. Kate Couple at Couple Design, they make the record dividers that I use. She actually said a funny thing. She goes, "Hey, can you talk about how to hide high-end audio cables from sight?" You know, she's very much into design and aesthetics and stuff, so I appreciate that. Thanks for posting that. You know, who knows? Maybe that's actually an interesting topic for conversation at some point. But nobody guessed it, right? So the good news is there's lots of topics that I can discuss going forward because, well, you guys didn't guess what I was going to talk about today, right? So it's a topic that's been very near and dear to me. It's a topic that I've been around, known about, long before I got into writing for Positive Feedback 21 years ago today, or not today, but somewhere around there, about 21 years ago. It was the first magazine that I joined as a writer, and it's obviously opened up all kinds of doors for me. And I wrote lots of reviews and opinion columns and all kinds of stuff. Long story short, the one topic I never really talked about up until now is this one. Let me show it to you because it's a topic I can show you what it looks like. Ta-da! This is what it is. I'm talking about master tapes. Yes, master tapes. Let's say it all together. Master tape. The funny thing with master tapes is they have this they have this connotation, they have this aura around them that is right up there, probably maybe even a little higher than, for example, One Step or Half Speed Mastered, right? Or, some Super VX 900 formula or Clarity vinyl or 45 RPM, and they've become sort of these stamps of approval, right? That as soon as you hear it, you're like, oh my god, this has got to be amazing, right? Because it's 45 RPM or it's a master tape, right? And the truth of the matter is, really, it's not, right? Much much in high-end audio, a lot of it is hype, a lot of it is marketing. And, really not just high-end audio. Anywhere you look, it's all marketing. It's all hype nonstop. We're surrounded by hype and marketing and narratives and stories and, trying to get us to hook into something and really believe in it. And then when you start scraping off the first, second layer of the onion, you're like, oh, okay, really? That's what it is? Obviously, if a record comes out on 45 RPM, really means diddly squat as to how the record's going to sound like, right? As we all know, there's plenty of examples of 45 RPM records that, you put on a CD and it's like, okay, what happened, right? Same thing with Half Speed Mastered, same thing with really anything. And of course, same thing with master tapes, right? So in general, a master tape, for all of those new tuning in, for all of those who've, never really heard the term before or have heard it but have not really been educated about what it means, it's actually really super simple, right? Back in the day when musicians would record songs onto analog tape, which really was the only way to do it, they would have, a 4-track, 8-track, 16-track, 32-track analog tape machine. Although the later ones are like 16 and 32 track, they used to start off with like 1/4-inch tape, then it became 1/2-inch tape, and then at the sort of in the 70s, late 60s, 70s, they got onto 1-inch, and I believe even like 2-inch tape for the 32 track stuff. because each of the tracks are tiny. So, to put 32 tracks on a tape to get some kind of sound quality out of it, the tape width had to grow. But anyway, it's a different story. So they would have they would record the song, record the track, and the mastering engineer would produce one tape that was called the master tape. And that tape became, as the name implies, the master for that song going forward for any medium that it would be released on, right? It could have been a 45 single, it could have been a LP, a CD, obviously, whatever. But that one tape, only that one tape, is technically speaking the master tape. And guess what? Given that it is the only one tape, what do you think happened to it? Well, it kind of wandered off into the vault, right? And so you ask yourself, well, okay, how did they make the LP from that then? If it's in the vault, how did they make the CD dub of it? How did they make the cassette duplication of it, right? Remember the days when you could buy a cassette? Well, quite simple. They took that master tape and they started making dubs off of it, right? Production dubs, safety dubs, master dubs. Guess what? None of those tapes are a master tape, because that tape is that only one tape that sits in a vault, generally speaking, that no one touches, right? It's like, imagine Christopher Nolan, having filmed Tenet. Well, I guess they filmed it on 70 mil film for parts of it. So that 70 millimeter negative film, he's not going to be Willy Wonkaing that around. Oh, you want a copy of it? Hey, here, let me send you my 70 mil prints. No, right? That's the master negative. I don't know if the film jargon has a specific name for it. I imagine it would. But that tape, that reel, 70 mil reel, is not going to go anywhere, right? I mean, it's, probably going to be strictly encased in some super hermetically sealed, lab somewhere, or some place of, super security, et cetera, because guess what? If that thing is gone, all you have left is second generation copy, third generation copies, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's the same with master tapes. Now, every time that you make a copy of that master tape, you now no longer have the original tape. You have a copy of it. In the analog domain for tapes, in general, when you make a copy of a master, you lose about 3 dB of signal to noise ratio. And of course, you multiply that, and you start to see that, by the time you reach the third generation copy, or fourth generation, or maybe even fifth generation copy, you're pretty far away from the sound quality that's contained on the actual master tape. The easiest way for you to see what that sounds like is, if you have a cassette deck at home, make a cassette of your favorite record or CD or whatever, like in the old days, and buy a second cassette deck or borrow one from a friend of yours and start copying that tape, second generation, third generation, fourth generation, and listen to that, fourth or fifth generation cassette tape and compare it to what the original sounds like. It's probably going to be miles apart, especially on a tiny little format like the cassette, with all its idiosyncrasies and sound quality issues aside, right? And so, obviously, to a lesser extent, you run into the same issues with quarter-inch tape, with half-inch tape, with 1-inch tape, or 2-inch tape. Every generation that's a subsequent generation away from the master is going to lose some sound quality. So where does that bring us today, right? Well, frankly, the reason why it's such a pet peeve subject of mine is that oftentimes, many times, I get calls from people, "Oh, dude, you're not going to believe it, man. I have the master tape of the Beatles." And I'm like, right, yeah, probably not. In fact, I'm pretty darn sure you don't. In fact, there is no way in hell that you have the master tape of the Beatles, right? Because guess what? That's vaulted away, who knows where, somewhere in the UK at Abbey Road Studios. My guess would be, I don't know, I mean, maybe it's in a Swiss bank vault for all I know. You're not going to ever get a copy or the actual master tape of Abbey Road, just to use that title since it's already referenced as Abbey Road Studios, or any other Beatles title for that matter, or any other title for that matter, from any other artist for that matter. Guess what? Those tapes are locked away, they're stashed away. At best, what you're going to get, and this is where really it you know, I part of me chuckles when someone calls me and tells me that. Part of me is like, how much did you spend for that? Oh, it was only $1,000, right? And I'm like, why'd you do that? Chances are what you have, if the tape can actually be verified to have originated from some level of the actual master tape, you probably have a production dub. You could very easily have a second, third, fourth generation safety copy. You could have, another copy of someone else's copy of someone else's copy that was in the studio when they were cutting it, when they were mastering it, when they were playing around with it. Who knows, right? I mean, it's like the provenance of these tapes. It's not like they have a digital signature on them and you can kind of trace it back. Okay, I know, George Martin, this came straight from George Martin's vault, right? There's no such thing, right? I mean, you kind of take the provenance with, unless you really absolutely know the truth, you take it with probably 6 grains of salt, right? Because chances are, I don't know. I don't know where those tapes would come from, right? And, you look on eBay, there's master tapes for sale. You look, there's forums. There's all these clubs, right, that promise you master tape copies, right? And the reality of it is that, again, my recommendation would be stay away from it unless you want to boast that you have a copy of a master tape. In which case, go to Analog Productions. I think from all the large labels, Chat Chasm is probably the biggest one that still makes actual copies available of master tapes. And so, which brings me to the point of, what are those, how are those made, right? And moreover, what was Kind of Blue, for example, to use that, since that just came out and it's been the rage, and, the video I did on it probably has like 9,000 views now, which is awesome. Super grateful for that. And, it's selling like hotcakes, obviously. Chad made a commitment of 25,000 copies. So what tape was used for that? And so, or Blue Note, right? Kevin Gray and Joe Harley are doing a phenomenal job with this Blue Note reissue that started way back in the day as Music Matters Jazz and has now sort of morphed into the Blue Note reissue series. And obviously many others, Intervention Records, Shane Bittner, or G Music with all of their releases and so on and so forth and so on and so forth, Impex Records, etc. Electric Recording Company, right? They always post the picture of the actual tape. If you go on the Electric Recording website, you will see the picture of the actual tape that they used to cut the record. And so in many ways, and this is the part that always fascinates my friends when they call me and tell me of such things, in many ways, that record that you get from Electric Recording Company, from Chad, from Impex, from Intervention Records, etc., Mobile Fidelity, is a lot closer to the master tape than that master tape dub that you think you have a copy of Pink Floyd's The Wall of, right? Because guess what? They take the master tape, they play it back, they, EQ it, make it, remaster it, right? And then what's between the cutting head and the tape? Well, not much other than the electronics to get it from here to here, right? So from the tape machine to the cutting head, it flows through the electronics. That's it. You're cutting it straight from the master tape, right? In the case of Kind of Blue, just to reiterate once more, the tapes that Chad used for this reissue were actually not the tapes. They were the metal parts that he got when he purchased Classic Records, which were cut from the 3-track tape that was made in the studio when they were recording Kind of Blue. And Bernie Grunman, the genius that he is, cut the 2-track lacquer directly from the 3-track master, which is unbelievable, right? And so, forget the master tape of Kind of Blue. You have a copy of Kind of Blue that's actually from the 3-track master, right? Production master, whatever, they actually, the actual name of it was, right? So, I mean, you're never, ever, ever going to get closer to the sound of Kind of Blue than what you can get, while you still can, a copy of Kind of Blue from Analog Productions. So, what about the tape project, right? They were kind of like the first on the scene to release these, copies of master tapes. Paul Stubblebine did a phenomenal job with these. I don't think that they're still doing it. It's kind of been, I have to say, when the first craze started coming about with master tapes in the sort of mainstream area, was probably about 15 years ago. It's really quieted down considerably over the last 5-6 years. And, I think part of it is, what equipment are you going to get to play it back? What tapes are you going to play back? What's the software like? By the way, unbeknownst to all of you watching, more likely than not, there is a genuine shortage of tapes available, right? There are, BASF used to be the big one, then they became MTech, and guess what? They all went out of business, right? There's ATR Magnetics today. I think they're still around making tape. There used to be some French project that bought some of the MTech machines that made tape. There's obviously tape production stuff happening in India, I think. And in, other parts, Africa, believe it or not, still uses a ton of tape, right? They're still very much old school. And I think I read somewhere that there are several production machines that actually make tape in the continent of Africa. I don't know which country. I would guess Nigeria, maybe Kenya, probably some of the more populous areas of the continent, but they make a lot of tape, right? A lot of the stuff that they still use is tape-based. And so when you look at what the Tape Project has done, for example, or Analog Productions, or really anyone else, they would get the master tape, right? Presumably. In the case of Chad, we know that for a fact because he always shows the pictures and stuff. They would make a copy. Generally, that would be like probably a 1/2-inch, 30-inch per second copy, just to give it a little bit of headroom. So when they make the copy of the tape, the loss is minimized to the smallest extent possible. And then from that production master, that 1/2-inch, 30-inch per second production master, they possibly made more copies of it, or they would do a 1/4-inch 2-track copy of it at 15-inch per second, and they would then run 10 machines in parallel, 15 machines, 5 machines, and those copies would then be used to make those tapes, right? So this Tape Project tape of this title, which is it was actually a fantastic Keith Johnson recording, reference recording, Exotic Dances. Beautiful, beautiful title. I don't know if, like I said, I don't believe you can still get these. The box was really nice. They came in these nice double box in a box. It had the little print like the record, with all the info on it. And, the sound is sublime, right? But guess what? I guess it shows two things, right? One, the sound is sublime, keeping in mind that these are not the actual master tapes, right? These are, my guess would be, this is a third generation tape, probably second or third generation tape. But again, because tape is so awesome sounding, you still get much of the effect, and you get the ooh, and it's like, oh my God, what happened? I played the record, and I play the tape, and it's like night and day difference, right? In this particular case, I can tell you of many, many music sessions that I've been with, and I have 3 tape machines myself at home. Pardon me. I have 3 tape machines at home. I have 2 Telefunken M15s and 1 Sonorous modified Revox PR99 Mark III that was modified by audio guru par excellence, Arian Janssen. And he's a total electronics wizard, and greatly respect him and his creativity. And so he modified the playback and record component on this particular machine. Long story short, I can't tell you how many times people have brought over tapes to me, and they're like, oh, let's listen to Pink Floyd The Wall. And I'm like, yeah, cough, cough, right? Sure, let's put it on. Just in case, I'll have the backup, my Stone, not Stone Mint, the regular, super regular, vanilla pressing of The Wall, US copy. And I'm like, we'll play your tape, and then we'll play the record, and we'll see where we're at. And so we play the tape, and, I sit there, and I'm like, okay, it kind of sounds like, what does this remind me of? I heard that's right, AM radio. Yes, it sounds like AM radio. I mean, I'm over-dramatizing. This is YouTube, after all. But just to put it in context, I put on the record, and you're like, oh, wow, this is what it's supposed to sound like, right? So, explain to me again how the prominence of this tape being copy of the master tape for The Wall, when the plain vanilla record that you can buy for $10, $5, whatever, in the $5 bin of your used record store completely kills it, right? So anyway, there's your example. But for every bad experience, there's truly amazing. This is the official Patricia Barber release series that came out, I believe it was last year. And these were officially sanctioned from Patricia Barber. And, as you can see, tape is kind of fussy to deal with, which is probably one of the reasons why it's not extremely popular. But it's, fantastic sounding. This was done, I'm pretty sure, off of a digital master, which, again, I get it. It's not analog. Dude, it sounds freaking amazing, right? This was done off the production digital master, and it you play the record, and trust me, it sounds much, much better. This particular one is modern cool, right? So, nice little booklet you got with it. And these sold for, I think it was $500. So this was Patricia Barber. Then I have a very nice one, which is actually from an Italian labeled called Hemiolia. And this is the great Luciano Pavarotti. And this was done with the Pavarotti estate, of course. Stuff like this. See, that's the other thing with these master tapes, right? You can't circumvent the process, the legal process of obtaining the rights to sell this, because they'll shut you down in a jiffy, right? So Hemiolia, this Italian label, they worked with the Pavarotti estate. In fact, from what I read, they're the only studio licensed by the Pavarotti estate to produce these master tapes. Beautiful production quality. I mean, you get like a certificate of authenticity, right? You get the technical sheet signed by the dubbing engineer with all the parameters of the tape machine that was used, etc. They have, I want to say, like 3 or 4 tapes. Beautiful, if I may show this to you, just a very beautiful reel, laser cut, aluminum, gorgeous reel, looks beautiful. The sound is to die for. They've done a phenomenal job. I'll post a link to these so you can actually buy them. They're still available down below, and you can see, they even have like a little wooden center lock covering for the reel, so when you put it in, it doesn't flop around. Very nicely done. Very, very high-end packaging. Beautifully done. And again, the sound is to die for. This is a cut of several of his live concerts. Beautifully done. If you have a tape machine that's a 2-track IEC machine, 15 inch per second, get this. You're not going to regret it. It's gorgeous. And again, like with all these master tapes, guys and ladies, they're not going to be around for long, right? There were so many of these companies that said they were going to be doing all kinds of cool stuff, and they're going to make tape machines again, and it's going to be like 1976 again, right? Everyone's going to have a tape machine, right? And it kind of fizzled out. So Analog Productions, the Hemiolia guys from Italy, the Patricia Barber stuff, although I don't believe it's still available. I don't know. Maybe Elusive Disc still has a couple of copies left. Tape Project, I think they're done. So, there was a German label that was an offshoot off of the folks behind the MPS label, I think. That, they did a couple of tapes. I think they did the Star Wars soundtrack. John Williams. They did a couple of Yellow tracks. They did. I think they did a. What was the other one? Anyway, again, long gone, right? Long gone. You can't get them anymore. They're gone forever. And my advice, just kind of closing it out, be careful out there. Don't believe the hype. If someone tells you, oh man, I've got master tape catalog, 500 titles to sell you, take it with 6 grains of salt, okay? Ping me. I'm happy to consult you whether or not I think it's bullshit or not what they're trying to sell you, right? Now, again, there are legitimate sources for tapes that you can get outside of Analog Productions, outside of the Italian guys, that claim to have Porter's provenance. Porter wants to say hello, everyone. Porter, say hi. Porter, say hi. I guess not. That claim to have the provenance from the way they follow the history and hierarchy of the tape. It came from an engineer. It came from this guy. It came from the estate. It came from someone else at the music company. Just be careful. Use your head. Don't spend $600 on a tape that someone tells you on eBay it's the copy of, Die Zauberflöte of Deutsche Grammophon, right? I doubt it. I really doubt it, right? It's a copy of something, right? From somewhere. Could be just a CD copy for all you know, right? So anyway, just be careful. One of these days I'll probably do a section on the tape machines and all that. But anyway, thanks for tuning in on this subject, which is very near and dear to me, and I'm sure hopefully you guys will have gotten something out of this. And we will catch you all very soon. Ciao.